Hello, and welcome to the Digital Workspace Works podcast. I'm Ryan Purvis, your host, supported by our producer Heather Bicknell. In this series, you'll hear stories and opinions from experts in the field, stories from the front lines, the problems they face and how they solved them, the areas they focused on from technology, people and processes, to the approaches they took that will help you to get to the grips with the digital workspace inner workings.
How are you?
How are you doing, Freddie? Good to see you. Yeah, that's
good. Happy New Year to you.
Yes, we can still say that.
Yes, of course. Still January, right?
Yeah, that's it. 1 month in almost, 4 days to go. How's the start of the year been for you?
Oh, it's like, I think everybody's been saying the same thing. It's like it's gone 100 miles an hour already. Yeah, it feels
that is true. Definitely been fast. Yeah, how are things going with the joining the dots?
It's been going good, I think. Really, really pleased about lots of things coming together, which I think is the whole purpose, right? Yeah, when you start seeing, I've just done a post this morning where, again, a number of connections being made, from just a device to being environmental friendly, to deal with recycling, to joining up with the National Data Bank. I'm like, this is what we're talking about, right? Joining up all the dots, because nobody can solve the problem on their own.
Yeah, the post that I saw this morning was that it was tablets. I think we've been provided by someone.
Yeah, so exactly, right, and it's a loan scheme, but it's still something, right? Because the population, the audience that we're dealing with, whatever label we use to call them, right? They are so varied, right? And then you have different people helping to do different things, which I think is the best thing that could possibly happen, because for example, if you are the council, right, or even you are doing a day job for your company, and your company tells you that you have 1,000 priorities to deal with, you still got to start somewhere. Yeah, you can't solve them all. You can't boil the ocean. You can't say, oh, let me think about it holistically. Give me 2 years, and by the way, here's the plan to solve this problem in the right way, but it's going to cost you millions of pounds that you can't afford. That's not reality.
Yeah. So now you mentioned a database that you're linking up with, national database. What is that?
It's National Data Bank.
Oh, data bank. What is that?
Right. So remember, the whole narrative started with, hey, we need to do something about donating devices, right? And I think we've now gone beyond it. And I say, please don't talk about devices anymore, because even if you're in the business of doing devices, it's so hard and it's not scalable. And even when you've done it, the problem comes back, because the end of life equipment is even shorter than a brand new one for somebody, right? So it doesn't go away. But not only that, now what we are trying to say is that, but what we really need to do to solve this problem is by thinking of it as we got to provide the right digital access for people who need them to be able to participate digitally, right? So it's that access and participation. And therefore, you're talking about linking device. Without data, you can't use the device. But you have device and data, but no tech support, therefore you do not know how to use it, doesn't work. But if you get a tech support, because you have no skills, no digital literacy skills, you can't join it up. But you don't have cyber safe practices, then you get yourself into trouble. But you don't have the right app with the right content, again, that's not going to be helpful. Something for a child is not something for a pensioner. So you see, it goes on and on, which is why, you've seen I've done the dashboard, and the dashboard is trying to find a way to show people that, hey, there's at least 8 dots to join, and that might be a good way to think about how to solve the problem, and also a good way for people to get engaged, because we want to give people things that they can say, oh, I'm interested in data, go to the National Data Bank. For the devices, I want to, as you know, right, promote that National Tech Appeal Platform, one of few rather than many. And then now we're moving to very exciting. Just when I thought nobody's doing it, we're about to launch a pilot to deal with providing a national tech support platform. And it's provided by a major tech vendor, Unisys.
Okay.
Amazing, yeah? Sure. Yeah. So we're joining up dots, bit by bit, yeah.
And what are they going to give, like a call center number that people can phone, have first line, second line support?
Yeah, exactly. Because this is what they do for corporates, right? So they're offering this as their part of their CSR, and we're doing this as a pilot initially, and then to learn to see what kinds of lessons learned to then scale it. And the first phase is to provide the support to the supporters of the beneficiaries, not the beneficiaries themselves directly, because they would not know what to do, what to ask. They do not know who that person is. They will not talk. You know what I mean? Because part of the challenge here is that to really get to those beneficiaries, you need people who knows them. You need people who knows what their problem is, and their problems tend to be fairly complex, meaning that it's not just about a device. It's usually about food poverty, about family problems, lots of things. And if you walk through that supporter, you stand a better chance of making a connection with the person that needs help, right? Yeah. Definitely. So we want to provide help to those people who are directly in contact with those beneficiaries.
Wow, that's going to be quite powerful.
And we already have and we already have a few charities that beneficiary groups that we've lined up to be part of this pilot. So one is YMCA. So just imagine if we tackle young adults, 16 to 24, starting with one YMCA, if that goes well, guess what? We scale to the rest of YMCA in the UK. We scale to globally YMCA. So that's one. That's young adults. The other candidate group is pensioners. So this is age concern UK, but we're starting with the South End branch. So again, same thing, right? If you can start with one area, then now you're talking about targeting two populations, the young adults and the pensioners.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and these are only the ones that I know, right?
Yes, for sure. And when you mentioned tablets, that's going to come from, I can't remember who the vendor was that was providing the templates, the tablets on loan.
Yeah, so I think it's a charity organization called Hubbub, yeah, and I think they deal with recycling, right, in a very environmentally friendly way, right? So I don't have the details, yeah, but at least I'm really delighted to see that, you know, we don't see yet another campaign which is to say, okay, I'm going to provide devices, but they join out a few dots, right? They join out with the data bank, and now guess what? Even AWS got into the act. That's how I got to know about this, right? Liz is doing very well. Liz is championing this, so we now have at least two within the joining the dots thing to say, hey, let's help other people to know about this, right? Because again, if that works for them, why should it not work for the rest of the regions in the UK?
Yes, definitely. And with the Joining the Dots campaign, when we last spoke, the DPA had just been launched.
Yep.
Have you done much work with them at all?
Yeah. So so many of us are ambassadors. So I would encourage you to, if you want to be an ambassador, right? I've invited you to the community hub in the DPA because, for example, with the 13 communities, where is the space that we go to hear about the same thing? Up to now, I've been using emails and LinkedIn, yeah, but it's one directional, right? Because people don't reply to emails. So. But with the hub, hopefully people who are really that interested, they would engage, right? And this is where not only are they engaging, let's say you and I were part of at least a few groups, yeah, part of Horizon CIO network, and also I think you're part of UK IT leaders, right? Or no?
Yep.
Yeah. So for example, those are two good examples whereby members are torn, right? It's like they hear about from one team, but they can't really know what to do with people from the other team, right? So now we have created a space where it doesn't matter who you are across 13 tech leaders communities. That is a space that you come to get information and contribute, or just find things out. Yeah. So I think that they are doing well there. They've done a piece of big research to help to guide what we should do next, because it needs to be evidence-based, right? It needs to be data-led. So that's something that they do, which I'm really delighted about. And then also, more importantly, they're also trying to provide guidance to the politicians, to the government and all the political parties. So they've been very successful. Last November, they organized a number of, they call it the All APPG, All Parliamentary Parties Group. So I was invited to some of them to listen. So that was great to see all the political parties coming together and acknowledging this issue and wanting to work with others, right? And there were a number of not politicians, but a number of charities and corporates and individuals, even like me, there just to listen and being able to contribute. So that was useful, right? And then more importantly, this year is that they are trying to now provide a roadmap for the areas of support that people can provide. Remember what I wanted to do with this is that step one is all about socializing. Let's just let people know what we need to know, right? And the second part is then find a way to help to mobilize people who are interested to help. We are not going to force people, but we're going to say, hey, but if you're interested to help, and here is how you can help. That would then solve the first problem that you and I encountered right at the beginning, which is I've seen many people say to me, Freddie, we want to help, including myself, but we have no idea how to. Yeah. So they are working out all that process, including, a sort of a pledging process. Like, okay, now if we show you, here's the demand for things to be done, and you are volunteering for something, then let's do that match up. And that's also helps to see how we can get you to pledge what you do so that you achieve the outcome. Because it's easy to say you want to help, yeah, but but not easy to see things happening.
No, for sure. Yeah, execution is always key.
Yeah.
Now, do you think since we started speaking, I mean, it's been a few, probably 2 quarters or 3 quarters now. Do you think things are improving? Do you think there are people getting access to? No.
Look, the problem is still the same, right? Everybody this time last year, there was a huge groundswell of everybody wanting to do something because somehow something created, just like with any news event, yeah, something sparked people's curiosity or interest, loss of attention, including the Daily Mail, Celebrity Lab, blah, blah, blah. And nothing's happened since then, right? Everything was quiet. And I've been beating the drum to say, did you know that currently nobody knows still how many disadvantaged school children are affected by a lack of digital access for education? And I think in November last year, I actually did a post that gave out specific numbers, and these are public sources of data, to show that the gap is still potentially 500,000. And that's just my number. That's just the number that I know. And yet nobody was able to agree or deny, but everybody sort of nodded their head that, yeah, I think the gap is still there. And part of it is because everybody's looking at a very macro level. Yeah, at the numbers. And the things that is being dealt with is at a very micro level, but those micro level interventions are not scalable and they are not visible, right? So you can see there's a lot of good work happening already, but I would imagine it's still a drop in the ocean about the amount of people that you need to help them with, because if you add those two things up, they don't add up, right? It's still so far apart. Right? So this is why it is important that, we can think that things are making progress, such as being more strategic. I think that's a good thing. Don't get me wrong, just like anybody. But if you look at whether the problem has been alleviated somehow on the ground, I would say no, not enough.
But it's going to take time. I mean, it's a big gap to close, and there's a lot of the dots are literally being pulled together.
Yeah.
So how do you keep the momentum up? I mean, how do you keep going with it feels like landmine after landmine?
Yeah, it's interesting. Sometimes, especially last year, every week I ask myself like, oh, can I keep going? And what is the thing that would be helpful? And I just remind myself, okay, look, if all I'm doing is to continue to help to signpost and socialize, and therefore like now, right, if I'm spending time with you and now you know what I know, like now you know that there's such a thing called a national data bank. Next time when you hear about somebody talking about this, you can say, hey, don't try and go to Vodafone and ask for data. If it's a one-off, that's fine, but if you want to be more strategic, go and work with the national data bank and ask them to give you a chunk at a time. That's how it will be more scalable. So that would have achieved something, right?
So let's unpack the national data bank. What does it actually do? I mean, what does it store? What's its purpose?
So the idea here is, currently, if you look at most of us who's got data, if you got unlimited data or even limited data, some months you don't use them all, right? So we can actually give data to at least people within the profile that you have. So it's the same concept at a bigger level. What if each one of us are able to give data that we don't need to the national, to contribute to it? Let somebody else solve the problem of knowing who to give to. But if you want to donate, this is one way, not just device data. That's one aspect of it. But what they're working on right now is more to do with the vendors like Virgin Media and Vodafone, who are already providing free SIM cards through their own campaign. So instead of doing it through as a Vodafone thing, now they are willing to work with this Good Things Foundation as a charity to promote the concept of a national data bank, to encourage everybody to, especially the big vendors, to donate a chunk to kickstart the data bank and to help charities and individuals to get data in a more holistic manner. If you know the individual in a family who's going through another 3 years of schooling and the family is in poverty and you're working through this charity and the charity knows that, hey, you know what, we got to keep that lifeline going for the next 3 years. Of course, we may have an annual check to see whether they can afford or not. But if, let's say, their situation maintains, then you know what, we don't cut off that lifeline from them just because they can't afford it. Yeah, so isn't that a more holistic, more sustainable, more scalable way of providing data for people who's got a device and now data to go with it? The National Data Bank is about ending data poverty by 2024.
Okay, I understand now. So it's actually specific to DPA.
No, specific to...
Not DPA, but digital poverty.
Yes, and also data poverty, data. So this is about making sure that people do not get left behind just because they cannot afford data to access their device for whatever purpose they need to do. Yeah?
Okay.
That's
I think
true,
I
right?
understand now. Yeah. Yeah, no, there needs to be a golden source. There always needs to be the source you trust that tells you what's going on. So I think it's great to have something like that for sure.
Yeah. So that is what the National Data Bank is committed to right now. If you look at the DPA, they are committed to ending digital poverty by 2030, right? So, we may laugh at those aspirations and say it's crazy, but on the other hand, if you have a stake in the ground, you can measure yourself against that. You have got a deadline to try and do something about it. And this is why I use it as a way to challenge everybody. Say, look, I know 2024 is great, but you know what? We can make it quicker. Vendors, please work together, make it happen. Ending digital poverty, I think, is going to be harder because it's not just about digital poverty. It's actually intertwined with a lot of social. But again, it's a good thing, right? What is our national strategy for dealing with this issue, right? If we don't have a policy around that, we don't have a digital strategy around that, how can we possibly solve this problem? So now that allows people to say, because this is what we are all about, let's start working across all levels, including governments to corporations to anybody who can help with this, to start having a conversation about how can we join up and have this conversation and do something about this in a joined up way. Yeah.
Yes, I think I understand what you're saying. I mean, it is essential to still execute somehow, but there's almost too many people going in different directions.
Exactly.
But now this data bank, is there a way for someone to go and have a look at that to see if they can contribute or get that out of it? Is there a website or?
Not really a website. I can try and find some information, but you can see right now it's because it's more of a B2B thing, right? So it's not going to be so publicized, which is why one of the things I want the DPA to do is like the stuff that I'm doing with the signposting. I want them to make it visible on their website so that this is how you signpost.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't want to set up yet another independent website, right? I want to say, hey, these are the things that we should share with everybody. Please, if you come across this, go and have a look. At least you know where things are, and then you can choose to contribute and to see how you can do more. Yeah.
I'm just wondering about something. If someone gets involved from a CSR point of view, do they get a benefit from the government, tax deduction, anything like that? I don't know if it works the same in the UK as it does in South Africa.
That's a good question, right? So it would be good if somebody can work that out and make sure that there is real benefit and therefore everybody wins, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember there being something similar to that. I can't remember what the program is. I'll see if someone knows that. I'll ask one of the groups, see if someone knows.
Okay, cool.
Super. Well, good to speak to you, Freddie.
Same here.
Keep on trucking.
Yeah, hey, and thank you for your support, yeah?
No problem. Always good to chat.
Cool.
Thanks, Freddie.
All right.
Keep up.
Take care.
Cheers, bye.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. Heather Bicknell is our producer and editor. Thank you, Heather, for your hard work on this episode. Please subscribe to the series and rate us on iTunes or the Google Play Store. Follow us on Twitter @the DWW Podcast. The show notes and transcripts will be available on the website www.digitalworkspace.works. Please also visit our website www.digitalworkspace.works and subscribe to our newsletter. And lastly, if you found this episode useful, please share with your friends or colleagues.